Hey everyone, welcome to High School Dropout's advice. If you need subtitles, please click on the CC button right here. Usually it takes up to 2 hours after uploading for the subtitles to appear. This will be a real estate related videos and I plan to make it a series. It will be impossible to explain everything in one video, so I will give you a blueprint for the scenarios you are in. So I will teach you how to invest in real estate when you have no money or little money, how you invest when you have some money and how to leverage those investments. And lastly, I will also teach you how to get properties for free when you can afford buying them in cash. So I plan to make 3 videos to cover the basics, and every time you have a question, please feel free to ask. The most important is to ask, because I'm the firm believer that the more you ask, the more you learn. The more you learn, the more you know. The more you know, the more opportunities you see. The more opportunities you can take advantage of, the richer you will get. The opportunities you see will determine if you end up wealthy or not. So in other words, your financial knowledge plays a very important role if you want to become wealthy. The other important part is the mindset, but this would be another topic. This could be a complete different series. Anyways, we have viewers asking for more real estate related investments. We have Ja and Iam saying he likes to start real estate, but it's expensive in Hawaii. Weston wants to just know more, and Linda wants to know how to manage out of state. Before I start, let me mention that I want you to watch all the videos in this series because they are based on each other, and techniques and investment methods can be combined and rearranged. Investing in real estate is like building something with your toolbox. The more tools you have, the more ways you can build things you want. This is how you need to see real estate investments. I will present you the tools and build an investment structure that works, but you can use those tools and build a complete different structure in the future. It's also worth mentioning that your country might have slightly different tools, but you need to understand how I use each tool regardless. I'm sorry that it takes a couple of minutes before I start the video, because I need to make sure you understand how I want to represent you everything in this video and the following real estate videos. Let's get started. This video will talk about how to get started in real estate investments with no to little money. If you don't have money or only little money, you will need a loan. To get a loan, you need to work in your industry for the last 2 years. If you are a nurse, you need to work in a hospital or medical related field for the previous 2 years. But you don't need to work at your current hospital for the last 2 years. It just needs to be field related. These are the requirements of most lenders in the United States. If you are in another country, you can check on their requirements. The amount of money you make is not so important. Theoretically, you can also get a loan when you are a sandwich artist working at Subway. Debt to income ratio, also known as DTI, is the second most important thing. If your DTI is too high, no lender will give you a loan. Let me teach you how to calculate DTI. If you make $3,000 in monthly income and pay $1,000 because you have a car, phone, TV and furniture you didn't pay off, your debt to income ratio will be 33%. Phone bills, rents, utility are not counted in the DTI. The highest DTI a lender would work with you is a debt to income ratio of 43%. Some only work with you if you have 36% and under. So if you are paying more than 1/3 of your income for debts, then I recommend you to spend less money and pay off the debts quicker so you can qualify for a bigger loan. The third important thing is your credit score. You can qualify for loans if you have a 640 credit score, but the interest and the cost to originate the loan will be very expensive. So I recommend you pay off all your credit card debts and car loans to get a credit score over 700. The cheapest rate you will get when you get over a credit score of 720. Once you have these three key elements, you can go to a lender and get pre-qualified. Based on your debt to income ratio, you get an amount that will qualify you. So it's wise that you are not buying a car when you want to buy a house. Remember that the financing length of a car loan is usually 5 years. So a car loan of $22,000 costs you $396 with a good interest rate of 3.11%. If you have a $396 car loan paying each month, this will destroy you about $88,000 in purchasing power in real estate. So remember that a car loan is a wealth killer. I showed in my other video that an average car payment of $462 would cost you $2 million over 30 years if you would have it invested every month. Once you have your debt low as possible and qualify for a loan, you will have several options to buy a property. You can buy an investment property, but this requires at least 15% down payment. And because this video is focused on no money to little money, I will teach you other ways to get into real estate investments. There are cheaper ways to get started. You can get into properties for 0% down. This is when you are a military veteran, or the properties are categorized as USDA. USDA is the same institution that gives the beef the USDA sign. USDA will also categorize the house as rural areas, or because the United States is supporting rural areas, the down payments can be 0%. In case you don't know what the down payment is, the down payment is the amount of money you have to put in the property based on the purchase price. So if you are looking for a house, you can ask your realtor if there are USDA properties in the area you want to buy. You might be surprised that some suburban neighborhoods in Houston, Texas are categorized as USDA, so it does not hurt to ask. If you were in the military and got honorable discharge, you can get a VA loan where you put 0% down. There is the FHA loan for all other people who don't qualify for the two cheapest way to get into the property. FHA loan requires a 3% down payment. Not all properties are FHA loan eligible. Usually FHA loans are available in areas that are considered a not as good neighborhood. But you will be surprised that some properties are eligible, which you thought they wouldn't. So don't be scared to ask your realtor. If you found a home you like but are not FHA or USDA eligible, then you can buy the property as owner occupied. Please remember and tell your loan originator you are buying it as owner occupied. This is important. You might also ask yourself now why I teach you about buying a home for yourself. I will tell you in a bit. We have to use it as a bridge to turn it into an investment home. So bear with me. As owner occupied, you need to put at least 5% down. So this is quite achievable if you have little money. Now let me explain to you what you will do after you have the property. Once you have moved into the property, you need to live in the property for a certain amount of time before renting it out legally. In the case of FHA, you can legally rent it out after 1 year. I think the USDA loan and VA loan is 6 months to 12 months. So you can rent them all out quite quickly after moving in. Here comes the tricky part. You have to make sure that you would qualify for your next loan, because even if you plan to rent it out and the rent would cover the first mortgage, the lender will not use your projected rent when there is no lease contract signed. So important for you in this case is to plan ahead. And if you would have qualified for $300,000 in the first loan, you are only buying a property for $150,000, because you know that you will lease it out in a year, or you need to make sure you get a better paying job or reducing more debts. But once you could make the step and have 2 properties, it will become more easier, because they have a lease contract for the first property, and the first property is paying it off by itself. Let me show you real examples with real numbers so you understand how it works. Let's have a look at this. This is a cute house with 1,112 square feet, 3 bedrooms and a bathroom. The house is selling for $130,000. If you are getting it as an owner occupied, you pay 5%, which is $6,500. Suppose we add another 5% for the closing costs, including the appraisal fee, inspection fee, title fees, option fees and loan originations. We will have a total cost of around $13,000. This is an amount most of us can save up. Let me explain to you the process of buying a house in a couple of sentences. After having your pre-approval letter, you will offer the amount of money you want to pay for the home. If the seller accepts, you have to pay the earnest money and option fee. Earnest money can range between 1 to 3% and show that you have the intention to buy. The option fee is usually $100 to $200 and not all states require it. The option fee is part of your option period, which generally range between 7 to 10 days. In that time frame, you can get a licensed inspector to check the home for you. Based on the report, you can renegotiate with the seller. You can also cancel the contract if you don't like it or you decide to move on with another property. In this case, you lose your option fee, but not your earnest money. When your option period is over, you will lose your earnest money if you decide to cancel. So during the option period, you can change your mind relatively cheaply. So once you are in contract, your lender will request more paperwork from you to get you approved. If you are approved, they will send an appraiser to check the value of the property. If the value is higher than what you pay or equals the amount, then the lender gets the green light to fund you the money. The money will be sent to the title company where you and the seller are signing the purchase agreement. After the signature, the title company will give the seller the money and you get the house keys from the title company. The title of the house will be transferred to your lender. This is a simplified way how to purchase a property. Let me use this property and show you how to analyze the property. Let's assume you got the loan for this property. You have lived in it for over 1 year and you are renting it out now. The estimate is quite accurate for bigger cities like Houston, Texas. You can see that the rent estimate is at $1,325. I will analyze it more quickly now, but don't worry, we will analyze more properties in the future. First, I want you to get familiar with the basics. We have to calculate the property tax. You will just use the assessed value of the district to multiply it by the tax rate. In our case, total market value of $89,451 multiplied by 2.9092%, which equals $2,602.30 in property tax. We will enter all the information here. So let me explain this form briefly. I will share this form in the future with you and explain the details so you can start analyzing your properties. We have the rent on top for 1,325. We multiplied it by 12 months, but we have to reduce 3.5% for a vacancy allowance. It will always take some time for you to rent out the property. This is why we have a vacancy allowance of $557 in this example. This leaves us with a gross operating income of $15,344. Now we have to deduct all the expenses. Let me only mention the numbers which applies to this property. 1,150 for insurance. As a thumb of rule, you can use 0.75% to 1% of the property's value for the yearly insurance. I have a property manager for each of my property and I recommend you to have one too. They cost you 5 to 8% of the monthly rent or $100 flat for each property. Having a licensed property manager helps you to be legally more protected. They will manage the entire property and you will need to do nothing. They will take care of the property, tenant screening, repair requests, move out, maintenance and everything else. I put another $1,100 for the repair allowance. Every house will need repairs. And from my experience, 7% of the rent is sufficient for an average house. If you bought a house in a terrible shape, you of course need more. But the house for our example will be fine with 7%. We have calculated the tax which I showed you how to do earlier. So we enter the $2,602 in this form and we have a total expense of $6,052 and our gross operating income for the year was $15,344. So we end up with a net operating income of $9,291. The net operating income is also called NOI. You will encounter this number a lot when you become a real estate investor. It's essential always to do your own NOI. Other investors will have different numbers based on their needs. For example, they might not need a property manager, but we do. So it's important for us to check our own numbers. Now we know the NOI of 9,291. Let us find out our mortgage because this is the number without a mortgage. We can see that our monthly payment will be $554.57. 130,000 is the purchase price. 5% down payment is $6,500. Your loan amount would be $123,500. Your loan terms are for 30 years, which is 360 months. Your interest rate is 3.5%. So you will pay $554.57 per month. Let's combine all the numbers we have. You see the net operating income and you see $6,655. This is when you multiply the mortgage payment of $554.57 by 12. So you know that you will have a cash flow of $2,636 in year number 1 of renting it out. In year 2 it will be a little more because we are increasing the rent, of course. Insurance and all other costs will go up as well, but I don't talk about that in detail now. All you need to know is that you have found a suitable property for you to live in and later rent out for a tenant. You might think $2,636 per year is not a lot of money. You are right, this is not a lot. But a rental property is not making money just by its rent. It also appreciates. Let us check what Zillow predicts in the appreciation rate for the zip code. The zip code is 77066 and we see a 6.3% forecast. 1 130,000 value with an increase of 6.3% is 8,190. The math behind it is 130,000 multiplied by 0.063 is 8,190. Now we have rent and appreciation, but let me tell you, there is more. We have loan amortization, which gets paid by your tenant. In year 2, this will be the amortization schedule. You know that your mortgage consists of interest and principal. The interest is the bank's profit, and the principal can be translated into equity in your property. The less principal you owe, the more house you own. You see that your principal is $2,454. This is all paid by your tenant. It's like a tenant is putting money in your piggy bank every month. You might think this is all how a property can make money. Now we have 2 more. Your house can act as a tax shelter. First, you can deduct many taxable income costs like repairs, building materials, trips to get the material, and property manager expenses. The second and the last one is depreciation, which is enormous. For depreciation, the value of your house will get divided by 27.5 times. This is the factor the IRS had determined for the real estate to depreciate. Let me show you how it affects you. Assuming our home is valued at 130,000 divided by 27.5 times, this will be $4,727. Assuming you are in the 22% tax bracket because you earn $54,727 per year, your new taxable income will only be $50,000 because you get a depreciation of $4,727. This means you are saving getting taxed on $4,727 because you own a house. In your case, you save 22% out of $4,727, which is $1,040. Now you might understand why super wealthy people buy more expensive houses and buy many of them, because those will help them to offset their taxable income. This is why many real estate investors pay close to zero or only little tax compared to many employees. I'm not here saying this is right or wrong. This is a finance channel, and I just teach you how the system works so you can apply those rules into your life. Now let us put all the numbers together to see how well our property did. 1,040 in tax savings, 2,454 in principal, 8,190 in appreciation, $2,636 in cash flow from the rent. This is a total of $15,040. Considering you have only put $6,500 for the down payment and $6,500 for the closing costs, which is in total $13,000, then you have more than doubled your money. The good thing is it keeps growing, and one day you can sell this property and get 2 loans with it. So 1 property will become 2 and so on. But I will teach you leverage and how to invest with some money in the next video. This was the first part of how to invest with no money or little money. I think I could show you that real estate can beat many stock investments. We all need a place to live, but when we can do it smartly, we can turn our place we live in into an investment. Real estate looks confusing for many people, but I hope I could explain it in a way that's easy for you to understand. Many people also think that real estate is boring and makes little money. It's actually not true. Real estate is exciting and highly profitable when you know how to use the tools. If you have questions, please let me know, because this is the first part of a series and more concepts are based on this. It will not hurt if you have to watch this video twice. The most important is that you understand this. I always said, it's not the investment that makes you wealthy, it's yourself. By yourself, I mean financial knowledge and financial mindset. Anyways, for legal reasons, I have to say, I'm not a financial advisor or CPA. I'm just a guy on YouTube. Check with your own CPA and financial advisor if my informations are correct. Use all my information as entertainment value only until then. I don't own any properties here from my example. My example and my math are based on the numbers I saw on the internet, and I may have missed important numbers. So do your own due diligence and remember that your money is your responsibility. If you like my video, please subscribe to my channel where I update you about exciting stock news and investment opportunities. Thank you so much and see you hopefully in the next video. Thank you, bye!